My name is Crystal Wacker, and I'm a registered nurse that is pursuing my bachelor's degree through UW Milwaukee. As part of my religion class, I was asked to interview someone who is a member of an underrepresented religion or population in the United States. I'm extremely excited to introduce my guest today and learn more about his religion. So could you please introduce yourself and tell me what religion you practice?
Yep, for sure. So thanks, Crystal. Thanks for inviting me to do this. I really appreciate it. So my name is Adesh Anil Gusarkar. I'm originally from India, born and brought up in India, came to United States in about 2015. For about 5 years, I stayed here. I went back to India in 2020 because my visa had expired, reapplied for another visa and came back in 2022 October back to the United States. In terms of my religion, I practice Hinduism, or there's another word for it, Sanatan Dharma, which is not used that often, but Hinduism is the more commonly used verbiage for it.
Okay.
So that's me. More the part of India that I come from and the religion that I follow. The main god of worship in Hinduism usually is Lord Ganesha, the one with the elephant head,
Okay.
and Lord Ganesha is more prevalent in the part that I come from. Doesn't mean that that's the only deity that I worship. There's a
Mhm.
lot more,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, there isn't. If I had to define it, there isn't a saint that I follow. It's more the region that I come from defines the type of religion that I practice. But it's all basis of Hinduism, though.
United States on a work visa is so
Uh-huh.
interesting. You came here, did you always work through the same company when you came here?
Yes, I did. I was working for Johnson Controls back in India, and the department that I worked for back in India, we provide remote support to Johnson Controls all across the world. And as part of that support, we also provide like on-location services, which is we basically physically visit to the branches and provide support as needed. Uh, we call skilled individuals coming over here to support the branch perform better. That's basically where I'm at. So that's the part of the setup that we have. So that's how I came upon this opportunity, and I didn't choose Milwaukee. Milwaukee chose me, but
Is that when you came to Milwaukee to work here, was this the first time you'd ever been to the United States?
yes, for you, first time ever in the United States. That's correct.
So kind of jumping in, jumping in the deep end there.
Yep, yep, pretty much.
Is English your native language? And if not, how did you learn how to speak English?
So English is not my native language. So again, languages in India. I mean, we can do another session on that if you if you want to, because there is so many.
Sure.
For example, my native language is Marathi. That's my mother tongue. That's what we speak in my home back in India. That's what my ancestors have been speaking. So that would qualify as my native language. Hindi is the most spoken language across India. That's like one language that's pan India. You will find somebody speaking Hindi across India. But English came along because in my schooling from the first grade, we have English as a subject.
Oh,
And all of our businesses, if you talk about businesses, for example, every office, everything that you go into, your uh, you're parallel to the DMV back in India, you're parallel to a passport office, everything else. The business occurs in India in English and in the language that's native for the region. So English would be prevalent in everything. You will fill your applications in English. Uh, if you want, you can have your interviews in English for all of these things. You can have an instructor in English. But you still have the option for people who don't want to be in English, they can still do in their own native languages. So English was a language that's been a language that I've been learning since I was very young. Uh, a lot of the English, and this may sound funny, I love sports a lot.
mhm.
So even though English was a language, it wasn't a spoken language as much. It's like it's one of the subjects that I'm learning, but it's not something that I'm speaking every day. Like with my friends, with my family, with everybody else, I'm speaking in Marathi or Hindi. So I got my lessons watching a lot of sports commentary, and as funny as it sounds, it's like that's That's what I hear. I know what's
Mhm.
going on in the sports, and I can account for, okay, this is what they're describing. So this is the word that I should be using for it. So that's been a big influence on my English speaking part of it. But as a language, English was taught to me from a very young age. So it's very common that you will find a good percentage of people in India uh, will speak good English, fluent English. There was a shock when I came here because I was more so in India, essentially we are taught the UK English, the UK version of English. So some words, again, the measurements, that was a big challenge when I came to in United States, because of course United States wants to do everything differently. So the
Yes.
world calls it kilometers, but no, we want to do miles here, and a lot of other things. Let's not get into that, but
Yes.
agree or disagree, that was a challenge. I mean, I I didn't feel too much of an issue learning English because I feel like in India, because there are so many languages,
Mhm.
and even within those languages, there are a lot of dialects. So from a young age, like my brain was already processing multiple languages, multiple dialects, and so it wasn't that big of a challenge, I would feel.
Mhm.
So yeah, it wasn't that big a challenge. It is a funny language, and especially once you go from that English, like UK English, to American English, then you have all these references, then you have all these things. Uh,
Sure.
so it was a challenge for sure, but not something that I was too worried about coming in.
I imagine that the culture in India is much different than the United States. After living
Yep.
here for a number of years, do you view India differently than before you came here?
Uh, I do in some cases. Again, one of the things that stands out is convenience. A lot of
Mhm.
the things that are more thought about here, the infrastructure, of course. India is still a developing country. United States is light years ahead in terms of the development part of it. So yeah, you get everything. You're not walking as much. At least if you're not in a big city, you're in a small town, or not even small town, even like something like Milwaukee, which is large enough of a city. You're traveling in your car. You're getting down to your garage, getting into a car, getting into a grocery store, getting your groceries, getting back
Mhm.
home. You're not necessarily having to put in too much effort. That's
Mhm.
one thing that was a big difference. You really One of the things that of course, I grew up with was a lot of family time, a lot of friends, a lot
Mhm.
of close culture, a lot of people overall. So that's one of the things that you sort of miss initially. You don't miss it initially, and then eventually you're like, oh, I miss that hustle and bustle. Uh, Overall, everything that's going on. So the culture shock, as much as it is in terms of living here, the convenience sort of overshadows everything else, because then you're not spending that much time doing an activity that is now taking 5 minutes. You're getting there, coming back in about half an hour, and you got your groceries done for the day and whatever for the week. So uh, that's been that's been a good thing that overshadows everything else for me. At least. Me and my wife always, before making any big decisions in life, we always try to weigh our pros and cons. Like, hey, these are the pros of going to America. You have these many opportunities and everything. The cons are right there as well. You have your family. You have your growing up. We enjoyed every festival. That's when those festivals come around. That's when you basically have the biggest uh, I'm going to use the word FOMO, fear of missing out. So like you see
Sure.
all these pictures of everybody enjoying those festivals, and like yeah, so that adds up. Like the food, the festivals. When you go back, that sort of compensates for, okay, I don't have the convenience here, but I have this. So it keeps you. I mean, you're obviously not going to be satisfied anywhere. You're going to want
Mhm.
like, hey, I don't have this here, but I have this here. So just have to balance it and be happy with what you have.
Hinduism is the third largest religion in the world, but according to the
Mhm.
Hindu American Foundation, more than 90% of the Hindu followers live on the Indian subcontinent.
Yep.
There are about 2 million Hindus that live here in the United States, and in 2010, according to UW Milwaukee survey, there were over 6,000 Hindu followers living in the greater Milwaukee area. As the Hindu population grew, so did the desire to build a temple for themselves, but unfortunately, that dream would not become a reality until the year 2000. I believe that there have been a few more temples that have been built in the Milwaukee area since then, but considering that there are 289 churches in the city, temples are a rare commodity. My question for you is, were you able to find a temple to worship at when you moved here, and do you feel like you're limited in your choices here in Wisconsin?
Yes, definitely limited in choices for sure. So we do have, and again, I'm going to call it a Hindu temple because
Mhm,
it is essentially a Hindu temple, but it's built by the Jain community. Jain, that is a Hindu temple,
mhm,
but it's not necessarily a temple that we find. So it's a one-stop shop. I feel like they try to put every deity that they can. So
mhm.
every religion or every small little regional differences can be all accommodated in one facility. So yes, the options are definitely limited. A lot of the times when I'm in India as well, I will be like and it differs with everyone. Like my mother or uh, uh, the generations before that would be practicing it differently. For me, I would usually practice and pray at my house. So at every house, you would have something like a shrine set
Mhm,
up, which would be our mini temple. That you would basically do your prayers every day. I practice it twice a day. So we do the incense sticks and a little bit of a prayer every day in the morning, and then evening time, which is a very sacred time, which is when the lights, when basically it's the twilight period when the sun's down and the moon's about to come up. We That's when a lot of our beliefs say that that's when goddess Lakshmi is supposed to visit your house. So you're supposed to light up your house with lamps and everything, every light in your house. So that way you direct goddess Lakshmi, like, this is my house. Please visit my house and come in and bless us with your blessings. So that's one time of the prayer. So a lot of my prayers, like even back in India, uh, I would visit temples, but it
mhm.
wasn't something that I would do every day or even every week. It'll be every a few weeks, especially with every deity comes a special day, like their birthday or something like that. On some of those days, we would go to the actual temples for those
Okay.
deities and then do our blessings and prayers. So, uh, for me, I mean, of course the options are limited because then if I have to pray with a certain deity or certain specific day, that option is not available. So it's like you go to that Hindu temple, but you don't have the specific deity that you're looking for, which in India you would find a temple within your region or close by at least for every deity that your region is uh, uh, praying for or praying about. So that it didn't affect me as much because I was carrying my own deities, like the smaller idols, with me wherever we travel. I have one in my car as well for Ganesha. So just to bless our car and keep us safe and everything. So all that is already been passed on to me for generations. So it didn't affect me as much, but yes, there is definitely uh, uh, the the options are limited for sure.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
It's such beautiful that a lot of the things that you're talking about, it's just
Yep.
amazing. It's just
Appreciate it.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that I had learned that, prayer, meditation, even yoga are
Mhm.
very important practices in the Hindu faith.
Yep.
Um, do you participate in any of those?
Uh, Prayer, yes. Meditation and yoga. I mean, it's it it's a very I would say out of the practicing Hindus, I would say a very small population would be actually called as yogis who will do the
Okay.
yogas. Meditation, yes. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, they do a lot of meditations. So it's a generational thing as well. If you talk about like generation before us, you would find the percentage to be a lot larger. As the generations have gone forward, as you have more work, a lot more modern. A lot of the yoga and meditation part of it has gone away, which I'm not saying is the right thing, but it's
Mhm.
just how the life is and how the way of life is and how fast paced everything has become. You do your prayers for sure, but yoga, you do not usually do not find time in the day for dedicated for you, because yoga and meditation are two things. Like, you need to give it time to do it right, otherwise you cannot
Mhm.
just, with a prayer I can find that small amount of time and I can make it a day. And so yeah, I don't practice meditation or yoga, but definitely practice prayers twice a day, every day.
Each religion has a worshiping style. Can you
Mhm.
please describe to me the atmosphere I might observe if I attended service at a Hindu temple?
You will find more towards the singing and worshiping. So worshiping, it's a lot vocal in India for sure. So everything like you will find, even in some cases, dancing, singing for
Mhm.
singing praises. Uh, uh, there are songs for each god. There's like those are chants. There's chants as well uh, with the Hinduism. You will have a lot of chants as well. Those are something that you will hear. So you will not find a quiet Hindu temple. Very usually, service would be dancing, sort of letting yourself go into that other plane, connecting with your deity and sort of singing your heart out and making sure your voice gets heard in the crowd of people. So yeah, you'll definitely have a really fun time. Again, it's your way of connecting. Some people do prefer that meditation, that yoga route, but in a typical Hindu temple, you will find a lot of rings, a lot of bells. Those will be there accompanying your singing of praises and prayers for the god and goddesses.
You had kind of
Yep,
talked about that you participate in prayers every day of the week, and that each
yep,
different day you may have different deities that you pray to, right?
yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Okay, so there really is no specific day in Hinduism that you're like, this is our day, we have to do it this day. So very
Nope.
nice. Very nice.
And some days have more significance than others. Like I mentioned, like if there's a Ganesha Jayanti, which is the birth of Lord Ganesha, that's praised as well. So that those days there will be a lot more celebration, not just your regular prayers. There'll be some food prepared. There will be a lot more preparation that goes into that.
Reading that in Hinduism, they have so it has complete scriptural texts that date back as far as 3,000 years. And when looking at the roots of the oral tradition, they may date back to
Yep.
as early as 850 BCE. That also
Hmm.
makes Hinduism one of the oldest religions in the world. Can
Yep.
you tell me this the book of worship in the Hindu faith and what role has it played in your life?
Yep. For sure. For sure. So more than the Vedas, I mean, the Vedas are the base of uh, all life, is what is understood in Hinduism. But one of the book that is more prevalent, at least for my life, I mean, I I know the Vedas, I know what the concepts are, but I haven't necessarily been preached on the Vedas specifically. But there is another scripture which I would compare more closely with the Bible, which is called as the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is like that. That's as comparison to Bible, as comparison to the Quran in Muslim religion as well. So that would be a book that I would relate to the most, because a lot of the learnings uh, that you come from that Bhagavad Gita scripture is what is taught to me over the years through different medium, through different prayers and different worshiping that I've done. So everything that was taught to me, a lot of the base comes from Bhagavad Gita. So that would be a scripture that I would relate to the most. Again, I'll be honest here, I haven't read it completely. Doesn't mean that a lot of the concepts have not been already taught to me or passed on to me, or I have sort of encompassed in my life, knowingly or unknowingly, because a lot of it is in the basis of Hinduism. So if you're doing one prayer or one part of it, you're basically following Bhagavad Gita, or you're uh, capturing the essence of Bhagavad Gita in any case. So yeah, I mean, I would compare Bhagavad Gita to be that way. The Vedas are the base of all of it, but it's more from the Vedas you come to the Bhagavad Gita, and from the Bhagavad Gita you come to the modern Hindu culture and the practices that we follow.
The next section I want to discuss is the concept of God. In Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, they're all monotheistic religions where they believe there is only one God. Whereas the
Mhm.
majority of religions are polytheistic, believing there are multiple deities to pray to. And Hinduism is a wonderful example of this. I was reading that there may be more than 33 million gods in the Hindu religion, and
Yep.
that, like you had said before, each family has their own gods or goddesses that they
Yep.
pray to.
Yep.
Could you tell me a little bit about some of the gods and goddesses that have the greatest meaning to you?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I mean, the first one, right here in your picture to the top left, Lord Ganesha,
Yeah.
that would be, I would say, just because of the region that I come from, that would be the closest god that I would associate with. Just because growing up, there's a, like I told you, Ganesh Jayanti, or his birthday, we celebrate something called as Lord Ganesha Festival. The part of India that I come from, western part of India, Mumbai, Maharashtra is the state. That festival is huge. When I say huge, we basically bring in the an idol of this god to our homes. We worship it. We do a lot of prayers. We do a lot of eating, of course, because it's India. You cannot go wrong with food. Uh, and and after, like, depending on, there's different types in there, but usually you keep it in your house for 12 days. So for 12 days, that deity is in your house, living with you. Sort of, you are interacting with it every day. As a child, I was interacting with the deity. I was like, hey, who's this new thing in my house? And I'm like, yeah, that's you get a connection to the deity, and you feel very connected. Like, hey, and one of the important aspects of not just Hinduism but in India is called as Atithi Devo Bhava, which means your guests are your gods. Your guests are like God. So when the God is coming to your house as a guest, you're going all out, and then you get that connection with them. So for me, definitely, I mean, I don't want to choose my gods, but if you want to select the biggest, I would say, connection that I would have would be Lord Ganesha, just because of that's what I've been uh, growing up. That's a very common thing, that you would wait all year for those 10, 12 days, so that you're going to get Lord Ganesha in your house. You'll decorate your houses, you'll create some sort of a scenery behind where you're going to put this idol, and a lot of good things. So yeah, if you get a chance, do look up Ganeshotsav in Mumbai or Maharashtra. You will be pleasantly surprised of the scale of it and how it's celebrated. So coming from the region, that would be my primary connection. But every every god and goddesses that you have in the screen here, I worship them at some point of my life, for sure. So there are goddesses that you bring in. So basically, in my shrine at my house as well, I have smaller sized idols, or smaller sized replicas of the gods and goddesses that you would find in a temple usually. So it's just a representation of, this is my uh, not to sound crazy like that, but not my personal god, but my representation of my god is traveling with me, or my god is with me in my house, that way. So yeah, it's just uh, praying in Hinduism is praying to an idol, praying to a replica of your god, because we believe in, like, God can be in different shapes, different sizes, different uh, periods throughout our history as well. So every period, there there is a concept of one true God, but that one true God then takes multiple shapes, multiple lives, because in Hinduism we have the birth and rebirth, birth and death and rebirth concept.
Yeah,
So it applies to gods as well. That are.
it's beautiful. That is really
Mhm,
beautiful.
mhm.
Um, so in the Catholic religion, women are barred from serving as deacons or priests, and this holds true in some of the Lutheran sects as well. In conservative Jewish services, men and women are not even allowed to sit in the same sections, and there's a wall that
Mhm,
separates them. When looking
mhm,
at God in monotheistic religions, he's always depicted as male, which I
mhm.
know in Hinduism that's not true, which is
Nope,
amazing. Can you
nope.
tell me a little bit about gender roles in Hinduism, and do you feel there's more gender equality?
I do. I mean, just just because of talking about pure numbers between the gods and the goddesses, because yeah, you'll probably, I don't know the exact count, but you'll probably find more goddesses than gods. To be honest with you, if you just took a pure count between the two. So there's definitely, because a lot of the Hinduism stems from, okay, a mother, or like a lot of these deities right here. If you look at bottom, like bottom right, uh,
Mhm.
the most bottom right, the one
Yes.
with the Veena, uh,
Mhm.
that's Saraswati. So this is the goddess of prosperity, and this is the goddess of what's the word I'm looking for? Education. So she's going to
Oh.
give you the brains. She's going to prosper you in education. The one right next to it, to the left, is the
Mhm.
destroyer. That's Durga or Kali in some concepts. That's
Okay.
another rupa. That's another, I guess, another type, or not another
Okay.
type, but another aspect of a mother, or a
Mhm.
woman, or overall a female can be the goddess of, like, she'll give you the brains, but she can be the destroyer. The next one is on the same setup. You can see that
Mhm.
she's sitting on a tiger with
Mhm.
multiple hands, so she can be ferocious as needed. The next one to it is Lakshmi. So if you see, one of her hands is basically like sort of outwards facing, so
Mhm.
she's gonna bless you with money. So she's the goddess of money. So I feel like goddesses even are worshipped a little more. I would say, if
Okay.
more than gender equality, it's a little lopsided towards uh, goddesses a lot more. But yep, we
Wonderful.
never, like, growing up, we were never told you have to praise to a god or a goddesses. They were all treated equally, uh, and for the most part, I would feel like the goddesses were always depicted as more powerful as well. So, which is very refreshing. If now that I'm thinking about it.
Is the women, are women allowed to lead religious services in the Hindu faith?
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, over the years, of course, things went backwards. Then things started to go forward as well. I feel like in the day and age of today, it's a lot more prevalent. I would be foolish to say that there weren't restrictions back in the day, just
Mhm.
because that's some of the thinking, some of the interpretation of religion and every other practice would would be taken in a certain way, that okay, it would be a male dominated. But that's like more than the religion itself, or more than the scriptures never discriminated. It's more the representation or the interpretation, or the misconception of the scriptures and the religion that basically brought that around. But over the years, things have changed. So you will
Okay.
definitely find it a lot more common now. But I would be foolish to say that there wasn't a period in time when there was prevalently everything had to be male dominated, like everything else in the world, to
Yeah.
be unfortunately.
But can you please tell me more about Sumsara or reincarnation?
Oh yeah, reincarnation for sure. Reincarnation, it's the whole concept, or that's how we are raised from the beginning, is everything that you do right now, you're not just going to pay for it in this life, but there's more lives in the coming up. So there's a concept of 7 lives, like 7 janmas, or
Mhm.
7 reincarnations for a human being, and those reincarnations could be in different places. But the reincarnation policy then forces you to not just think about it through your life, that hey, I mean, I die, everything is reset. It's like, you, depending on what you do throughout your life, is then going to it's going to result in what you are born, where you're born, what privilege you're given at birth, in the next life. So you had some hardships, but you lived your life. with keeping all of these concepts in mind, and you lived your life with the fulfillment, and like you have here the four pillars, which are the
Mhm.
karma, dharma, artha, and moksha. You basically have you've lived your life with these four pillars, and in those order, then you will get the moksha, which will then lead into, if you have another life left, you will be into a prosperous life. You'll be born into a prosperous life where you won't be facing the hardship that you faced in this life. And the karma part of it, I mean, karma, you must have heard that word
Mhm.
being used a lot in popular culture as well. But karma is something that your karma is going to be what what you're going to get in return. So the good karma will give you good returns. The bad karma will, if not in this life, will come back to haunt you in the reincarnated lives in the future. So yeah,
So
it's very, it's not just thinking about death as the end. It's thinking about death as the next beginning, and then the next beginning, and the next beginning. So
so if you aren't really doing a great job in one life, you can
Mhm.
redeem yourself in the next life with the hope of having a better
That's
start in the one after that.
correct, correct. So that's the concept of, you do your good job in whatever situation that you're in, thinking
Mhm.
that there's going to be a return in the future.
Religions meant a lot to me because
Yes.
I've always felt that way. And I do
Yep.
believe that we leave a mark in this world and
Mhm.
that mark
100%.
remains. And it's just wonderful to find special meaning in things that sometimes
Yep.
aren't explainable. And religion is magical. It's not
It is.
necessarily scientific. And
It is.
so
You
it's
cannot, you cannot, you cannot just see it as black and white, and then like, yeah, it's not this, so it has to be this. No, no. There's so much depth in there that it's in your faith, and it's in your interpretation, and it's in your religion is your religion. Like, nobody can take anything away from it from that point. So yeah, there's no right and wrong. That's what
there
I
is not.
believe in.
There's
Yep.
not. It kind of resides in your heart too. It's one of the amazing things that I kind of heard about Hinduism is you guys might be the most tolerant religion there is because you don't believe anybody's wrong. You're not right
Yes.
and they're not wrong. So you kind of
Yep.
give a general overall respect. I may not agree in
Yep.
how, but I
Yep.
respect that you do. And I
Yep.
just thought that was absolutely beautiful and amazing
Yep.
because we don't really know what's going to happen. And
Yep.
there's always this, nope, I'm right, you're wrong. And sometimes you just have to be quiet and listen. And you really, when
Yep.
you open your mind, you're going to learn new things.
That comes from the different, just the so much diversity that's there in
Mhm,
India, that you learn to live with it. Like, it's okay. It's okay that my best friend is not practicing the same religion, or not saying the same things, or not following the same things, but he will be at my house celebrating my festivals, eating food out of the same plate, and I'll be at his house eating food of the same thing. And it the diversity in India just sort of keeps your mind open, that, hey, I mean, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. You celebrate your god, I celebrate my god, and I will will celebrate together for anything. But there's not going to be anything that I would question that you're doing. uh, as long as you're not questioning what I am doing,
right.
we'll be fine. But then that's the general concept of a lot of the Hinduism is based on ahimsa is non-violence. So non-violence is a very, like, non-violence until it's absolutely the last resort. So a lot of the deities that you saw, I
Mhm,
only pointed out two of them, which were like in an aggressive manner, with
mhm.
with weapons in their hands and everything. Majority of them were basically giving you all of the things that you need in your life, but not necessarily violence. So that's a concept. Like, it's, you understand, you be tolerant,
Mhm.
because of the diversity that Hinduism itself has within itself. It just teaches that, hey, within our religion there's going to be so many differences, so who are we to question what somebody else is doing?
Also reading that the Hindu calendar is based on the motion of the sun and the moon, and therefore most
Yep.
holidays are not on a set date each year, and their dates may actually depend on the phases of the moon.
Correct.
You kind of said too, festivals can be held for many different reasons,
Yep.
whether they be to remember a significant event or person from history, marking the beginning and ending of a season, or paying
Hmm.
respect to a certain deity. Um,
Hmm.
we Can you describe one holiday or festival that's especially important to you? What do you
Yep.
celebrate? And what special rituals does it include?
Period that we are in, I would say starting from about end of August to almost start to mid of November. This is called the festive period because a lot of festivals occur uh, right after another during this period. So you have the Ganesha festival, which is around August and September, which is the dearest and nearest and dearest to my heart. Heart. Then yesterday was something that there's 9 days of Navaratri, which is when we're praising Goddess Durga and like basically during that period we're praising the goddesses. And on the 10th day, like the 9 day festival finishes, and on the 10th day there's something called as Dasara or Vijaya Dashmi, which was yesterday. This is celebrated as the return of Lord Rama after defeating, so in a sense, the win of good versus evil. And
Mhm.
then the Dasara then follows in I think a week or so time into Deepavali, which is the festival of lights, which is basically the victory is done. Now our God is back. Let's celebrate the victory of good over evil with lamps. The first picture that you have in the bottom here,
Mhm.
that's a very dear and near and dear festival. And then the bottom right picture is the Ganesha festival, I assume. Yes, 100%.
And if someone wanted to convert to the Hindu faith, does the religion welcome people of other religions to join, and how would they go about doing that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's a very that's one of the core concepts is like everybody is welcome to practice Hinduism, but we're not going to force you. We're not going to tell you you have to. Like, there's not going to be a Hindu that's going to force you to practice Hinduism, but as soon as you accept it or you want to accept it, they will welcome you with open arms. And there's a lot of processes that people can go through. I'll be honest with you, I have very little knowledge on the
Mhm.
converting into the Hinduism portion of things.
I understand that you are both a husband and a father. Do you have one or two children?
One daughter.
One daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it important to you that your wife was also Hindu?
Uh, no, no. I mean, again, she is. So, I mean,
Mhm.
in hindsight, uh, it's good. But I mean, it's not something that I was looking for actively.
Okay.
And I would be foolish to say if it wouldn't have been that case, uh, there would have been more challenges in our
Mhm.
marriage for sure, just because my parents grew up practicing the typical Hindu religion. Everything is Hindu. We marry into our religion. Everything is very straightforward. So
Mhm.
you usually don't marry outside your religion. Doesn't
Okay.
mean that I definitely never like, from where I grew up, in my mind, I'd never had anything like that. So yeah, I mean, mine is a love marriage. We studied together in so there's a concept for arranged marriage in India as well, where
Mhm.
basically your parents pick your uh, bride for you. But ours is like we studied together when we were in a relationship for about 3 years, and then we decided to get married. So it was more the person for me. Again, it worked out. It was a little more easier to get everybody on board with the
Mhm.
marriage, because you in India you marry a whole family.
Mhm.
That's just the reality of it. Just because of the families that are extended, you marry the whole family. So that family's backing and support is important. Again,
Mhm.
I if things were different, would have been a challenge, but I'm sure eventually I would have been able to. So it's for me, it's not that important.
So, it seems there's a lot of beautiful and meaningful traditions when it comes to Hindu weddings. And in some
Mhm.
cases, celebrations can last several days. Can you please
Oh
tell me
yeah.
about your marriage ceremony and any special practices that you participated in?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that little thing that was fun. It goes on for multiple days, 100%. In different regions, you will have days like even go out to about 5 to 6 days of celebrations. Every day will have a different meaning. So yeah, for my marriage, I mean, I remember it was a little chaotic for me, just because of a lot of things that were going on at that time. But I do remember majority of the ceremonies that we went through. So one of the ceremonies is like you're cleansing yourself with turmeric. So the day before, I would be like drenched with turmeric. Like the original concept was you apply a little bit, but as years evolved, it became more like, hey, this is a fun activity. I'm going to drench you in turmeric, and then you basically have a bath. So you're cleansing yourself, and you're going into this beautiful union, all your body cleansed and everything. My wife would usually had done a henna. I don't know if you've seen the henna in the
Hmm.
hands, but that's again on this picture that you have here. In her
Hmm.
hands also, you will see a little bit of it's a tattoo essentially, but not a permanent tattoo. It's like takes a
Yep.
color, and it sort of brings you into prosperity. So that was a fun concept for her. There's a concept called as uh, you basically are kanyadan, or you are giving your daughter away in the marriage. So the father of the daughter basically follows a certain prayers and everything, and officially gives the daughter away, which is a very similar concept to somebody like in a Christian wedding or Catholic wedding. You're walking your daughter down the aisle. I mean, that's very similar. You're giving your daughter away. Like, yep, I've raised her. I've raised her with everything, and like now you have to take care of her, sort of in the same concept. So that was a very nice activity. One of the
Hmm.
uh, things that we covered in our marriage. And yeah, overall, like, yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't even remember now, because it was all a little chaotic. It's a little chaotic. Indian
Sure.
weddings are a lot of food, a lot of drinking going on in some cases. So
Important celebration in any religion is welcoming a new child into their family.
yep.
In the Christian faiths, infants are baptized. In the Jewish faith, there is a celebration of cleansing called the uh, Tavala. I'm probably spelling that
Mhm.
or saying that wrong too. But many religions have some kind of baptismal rituals that consist of using water to welcome a new child or believer into the religion. Is there
Mhm.
anything like that in the Hindu faith?
Uh, Nothing that's like that involved, I would say. Nothing
Mhm.
that would very closely translate to a baptism ceremony. Uh,
Mhm.
but of course, like there's ceremonies, there's things that you start practicing with your child. You take your child. So the one of the biggest concept is when the child is born. In the first few days, you try to get the child to each of these temples to take the blessings from all of these different deities. So that's one of the concepts, but it's not necessarily like a temple. It's from your belief. You want to get each of the deities' blessings that you have gotten. That, hey,
Mhm.
this is another member in your group now, in your fan base. So please bless this little creature, and make sure it's all good with like the goddess of education. You tell her
Mhm.
like, hey, give her the brains, give her the education prowess, and make sure she's able to prosper in every way. You go to the goddess of strength and say, hey, give her the strength. You go to Ganesha, and
Mhm.
you go to Ganesha and ask for the same blessing. So there's a lot of that, but I don't. I mean, I wouldn't remember any specific uh, ceremony that would go hand in hand with a baptism, where you're basically uh, welcoming the child in the religion necessarily. It's more you practice it from the day you're born, so you're
Mhm.
not necessarily waiting for a procedure to get into that religion.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I was reading about the Hindu naming ceremony. Is that something that you
Yes.
participated in?
Yes, I was going to get to that. Yeah, that's the one ceremony that we do celebrate a lot, and I would say, yeah, there are some religious aspects to it as well, but majority of it is you're naming the child. Ideally, it's done in my part of the country. It's done on the 12th day. It's called the Barsa, Bara meaning 12, the number
Mhm.
12 in my native language. So in that ceremony, yeah, you are celebrating, you are basically letting the whole world know that this is the name of my child. Doesn't mean that that child is nameless for 12 days. You already have it picked up, you already have the birth certificate made. This is just another reason for us to celebrate. Like in India, we could use with any another celebration. So
Of
that's
course.
what this is. But yeah, it's a fun celebration, and it's basically you telling everybody of your close family and relatives, friends, and family that yep, this is the name of my child, and yeah, that naming ceremony is fun. Yeah, yeah, we had a great time on that as well. So yeah, the picture that you have around the
Mhm.
corner, I think that's probably part of the naming ceremony.
Yep,
Uh,
that is an
for
example of it.
this.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But there's religious aspects to that as well, but not as much as like, yeah, you have to follow it in this way. It's just
Mhm.
again seeking the blessings of the deities that you have been worshiping.
And everybody who wants to see your new beautiful new child has the
A hundred
chance.
percent. There's another reason for that. Yes, that's true. That's true. And there is good reason for having a party. Yeah.
I feel like in America, we're very argumentative. So to me, when I say in God we trust, that does not mean Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think that people are taking things to way high of a level where instead of just encompassing what God means to you, we're not naming him. It's a
Yep.
concept. So there can be more than one. So I
Yep.
feel like we're just more argumentative here and we make issues out of things that shouldn't be an issue.
Uh-huh.
That's
Uh-huh.
fair to say.
It is.
With
It
that
is.
being said, one of the debates that we had in this class is whether Christmas should be banned from public schools. My argument was that Christmas in America has become largely commercialized and that it's more about Santa Claus and gift giving than it is about the birth of Jesus. Just like Easter, another big Christian, technically, holiday, is more about the Easter bunny and getting baskets of candy than it is about the resurrection of Jesus.
Mhm.
Being a parent of the Hindu faith, how do you feel about these two holidays when it comes to your children? Do you and your wife see these as fun holidays for your children to participate in, or do you see them more as religious holidays that have no place in your life?
I mean, growing up, I definitely saw them as holidays. That okay, Christmas meant Santa Claus for me.
Mhm,
Easter meant Easter egg hunt for me. Like I didn't even know the just because that was me not knowing enough about the basis of what the celebration is. But then when like once I grew up, I had a Catholic friend in India as well, and he sort of walked me through, hey, this is what this means. This is what this means, and I was like, oh, this is very close to what I celebrate. I
mhm,
celebrate Ganesha festival as a celebration of the birth of Lord Ganesha. It's the same thing with Christmas. So, I mean, yes, for me, from what I understand now, I
mhm,
definitely see it as a more of a religious festival versus a celebration or more commercialized setup. So definitely, uh, my conception have changed after learning more about it. But yeah, my first views and my first win was Christmas is Santa Claus and Easter egg hunt. It's an egg hunt. Yep, you have a lot of fun. Yep,
yeah.
that's what I knew about it.
So, Adesh, you were celebrating Christmas and Easter as a child?
I was. In fact, we had a Catholic. So that's what I'm saying about diversity. We had a, again, when I say I was celebrating, I didn't know
Mhm,
the concept of it. I
right.
just loved that someone came to my house and gave me candy when I was growing up. Like
Sure.
I was that young, so I was like, I'm not going to complain about that. Uh, but then once we grew up more, and
Mhm,
one Catholic friend that I had, I would always go to their house. We'll participate in prayers with candles and everything. So we did all that once, but once I was a little older though, enough
mhm,
to understand the concept of it, understand, compare it with what I have. And as I said, it's more diversified in India. So you would
mhm,
celebrate, you would see a Santa Claus in a street where you least expect it during Christmas time because and then I know Santa Claus is not Christmas, but you will feel that there is a precision or people worshiping it and everything follows behind it. So you still have this Santa Claus part of it, but you still have the religion and the prayers and the worshiping. part of it, which is what it should ideally be. So that's what we're celebrating.
That's true, but it's also important to remember that, Christmas has taken on a spirit of its own where it's
Yep,
about spending time with family and eating and
exactly,
celebrating and giving
exactly.
gifts.
Yep,
So it doesn't always have to be a religious based too. That's what I was kind of talking about, having those fun things too. Um,
yep.
do you ever feel overwhelmed raising your daughter in an American society where Hinduism is not widely practiced? Is she
Uh,
still pretty young?
yes, yes, she is. She's about like just she's gonna turn 2 next year, next month. Uh, yes, it is. And you're probably hearing her in the background, so I apologize for any background noise if you're hearing any. It's just a madhouse in here. So yeah. But yes, overwhelmed in the case that you always compare. I mean, being a parent is hard. We learned it the hard way, me and my wife. It's like we didn't anticipate it being so much work in every aspect of it. And the biggest challenge that you have when you're away from your home where you have grown up is you don't have the support of your parents. That's the biggest, like, it's just you two. So everything that you're doing, that's what she's going to get. So there's always a pressure. There's always uh, uh, I would say as much as a pressure, but like, yeah, you feel like, oh, am I giving her all the right values that I receive? Am I explaining it to her in the right way that I was doing? Do I know the right concept of it? Uh, and that's where you keep that one video call with the parents every day. So like, yeah, they're still in touch. They're still getting the right things. Again, right or
Good.
wrong, but they're still getting both aspects of it.
Mhm.
It is overwhelming for sure, just because again you're always second guessing yourself if you're doing the right thing or not as a parent, but that's for everything else, not just explaining them about religion, but
Sure.
pretty much everything that you do with them. So that's what we're learning right now. Still new at it, but yeah, it is overwhelming for sure. I would not deny it. If we were in India, we would not have had that much pressure, because again, there's 12 other people at least that I can count right now that would be giving her the blessings and giving her the teachings with every meeting that they have. So you're not the only one that she's going to rely on to get that, uh, get everything passed through. But we do our best, and that's what we've learned is like you can only do your best. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we keep trying. It's overwhelming for sure.
Sure. And in India or even in Hinduism, family is a big deal. You guys seem very close. Okay. Right. So the last thing I want to cover is some hot topics
Mhm.
that are usually based around religion. And the
Yep.
things we believe in or how we view certain topics are a combination of our religions, our personal beliefs, the cultures in which
Hmm.
we live, and our life
Hmm.
experiences. Um, Topics
Hmm.
that are usually based around religion. And the
Yep.
things we believe in or how we view certain topics are a combination of our religions, our personal beliefs, the cultures in which
Hmm.
we live, and our life
Hmm.
experiences. Um, so are a combination of our religions, our personal beliefs, the cultures in which
Hmm.
we live, and our life
Hmm.
experiences. Um, so, kind of talk about this beforehand. If there's anything that you don't want to talk about, just let me know,
Yep. Yep. Nope. No problem.
because there really are no right or wrong answers.
Yep.
So the first thing I want to talk about is transgenderism. A new
Hmm.
study estimated that 1.6 million people in the United States identify as transgender. And as
Hmm.
of 2023, there were over 107 gender identities that are
Hmm.
recognized. Although
Hmm.
people are becoming more tolerant of this, Christians and conservative groups are fighting to limit the rights of the LGBTQ community, quoting that the
Hmm.
Bible states there are only two genders, male and female. Can you
Hmm.
please tell me the Hindu perspective on this topic and if your beliefs are the same?
Yep. 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 So, I mean, this is a very good topic to touch on, especially with Hinduism, because, like I said, with Hinduism, we don't believe in a single form or a single setup or single sex even for the god. So you're basically born into a different body, into a different setup every time that you're reborn. So and that goes for our deities as well. Like there is, you'll probably find references, and also very credible and very important references to transgenderism going back in Hindu like religion back in the day. Scriptures are written about this, and it was always the religion never had any issues with transgenders overall, because there are some deities, and I'm pretty sure if you look deep enough, there's going to be a god that, and I'm going to call it God, but there's going to be a deity that's transgender, because
Mhm.
that's how it was perceived, that it's very normal. It was a regular thing, and it was beyond the sex, is what the deities were perceived as. It's more of uh, a being in a supernatural power in a being format, like, and that
Mhm.
format or that body could be anything. So that was the basic concept behind it. So I mean, my views are very open. Again, my religion is accepting. I'm very accepting. Like, you know your truth. You know your gender, and your truth is your truth. Nobody can question that. And yeah, whatever is, you are able to live with that, and you're able to not more than live with that. You are happy internally, and that's how you feel. That should be the best thing for you, and that comes from the religion uh, uh, that I was taught as well. It's like nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Everybody is following their own faith and following their own setup. So, my ideas are: live your life, don't worry about anybody else.
Love,
Yep,
yeah. I think that's a really big question that no one has the
it
answer
is.
to. And I
It
think we're gonna
is.
have to
It
agree to
is.
realize there's
Yep.
no real answer.
Yep.
So finally, are there any other topics that are important to you as a man of the Hindu faith that you would like people to be aware of?
Um, and there are no topics as such. I feel like a lot of the concepts of Hinduism are really critical in today's day and age. The non-violence aspect of it, where the tolerance aspect of it. I feel like if you don't necessarily need to follow the religion to follow the beliefs, is what
Mhm.
I am thinking about. You can take the religion out of it. You just take the beliefs, and you read about it, and you read what good karma, bad karma, what
Mhm.
you're going to do is going to stay with you. It's not a reset button at the end of the life, and then like, yep, I don't care about it. If there is another life of this whatever after death, after life, like it's whatever is there, I'll face it. So if you think about it as like, yeah, no, you're gonna have to come back, you're gonna have to face it yourself. That will bring into your perspective of everything that you're doing. You're thinking about that when you're doing it. It will bring a lot of good in the world. It's what I feel. Again, you don't need to follow Hinduism or you don't need to practice
Mhm.
Hinduism, but you take that belief with you, and you take the concepts and you use it in your day-to-day life. It's going to be uh, it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to make the world a better place. Just speaking like I'm talking about world peace, but that's just what I believe is. It's the easy things that you uh, uh, that will make everybody's life a lot easier, for sure. So that's something that I feel like Hinduism has to offer to the world. And again, you do not need to be a Hindu to follow Hinduism, is what I feel.
Wonderful.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was amazing. Um,
Yep.
Ending, I just want to really sincerely thank you that once again for
Hmm.
taking the time to talk to me today and sharing your faith. I've learned a lot.
Yep.
Uh, I was trying to find a way to say thank you in Hindu, but I did not realize that there are so many different dialects. So I'm probably
Yep.
messing this up anyway. So
Yep.
I had chosen on here Dhanyavad, which I was told
Yep.
was formal thank you.
Yep.
Just sincerely, it was
Yep.
it was great talking to you, and I really appreciate it.
Nope. I appreciate the opportunity, and it was a great conversation. I
All right.
really loved it.
Yes, me too. Thanks, Adesh.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right.